Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Gal.
Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning. And Spence is here.
Yes, sir.
And Nick is here.
Hi, good morning.
The whole family. Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K voice on Skype. And today's show is made possible by vMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. What a week.
Indeed.
Not much going on as far as news. I mean, tech news. But the end of the week did something that a lot of us were told is not going to happen, right?
Right. Well, yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me something about how the history of sanctions, and I didn't get a chance to look at it yet, but I'm thinking, because it was talking about, well, this is how sanctions will prevent anything from happening, and then it happened. So,
yeah.
Although, did you see the story about Elon Musk is going to turn on?
He did.
He did but
you see, the thing is, they put a bunch of satellites over there to cover them. The trick is to get the receivers to the people.
Yes, no, I understand, but still, it's something.
Yeah,
those are he said that the terminals, they call them terminals.
Yeah,
the modem and the
Ish.
satellite is on the way. So, yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I love this past week how the tweet he did about paying the most taxes of any individual in history. He paid like a $6 billion tax bill, and he said, "I paid a $600 billion tax bill. Maybe I can get a cookie."
I caught this interesting article. Frontier, not the airline, but the internet company, which is they've got different. Their regions are a little bit weird. I believe they're mostly in like Tennessee and areas like that. They are now offering 2 gigabit internet access, not just in select markets, but across their entire area. So obviously it's already fiber if they're doing gigabit, and they have turned the service up to 2 gigabit symmetrical. They're in 19 states and have approximately 4 million customers. Interesting. I don't know why they're doing that.
So we talk
but it's
about
interesting.
So they'll be.
I don't know why. Yeah, but but I guess the question is, and obviously other people already offer more. Like AT&T, I don't believe they offer it on a consumer side, but on a business side, you can get more than 1 gigabit. But the fact that
they all do 2 gigabits now to the consumer side.
AT&T does?
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you look at their commercials, it says, actually, they say 5 gigabits. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's not their entire network.
Right.
It's certain areas.
And that's the problem I had with this article you're talking about. Because the one thing that we didn't read here, that now bringing 2 gigabits broadband to all its fiber customers.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
you're not going to push. You can't push gigabit over coax,
No,
and you're not
I
going to push 2
understand,
gigabit
but
over
it's not
coax.
like all their customers, all their
No, but it's
fiber,
interesting.
right?
It's interesting though that they are. They're already probably in a 10 gig or even 100 gig network internally, so that
Probably.
all it was a simple flip of a switch and
Yeah.
probably an update to the modem's firmware to allow 2 gigabit across their entire network.
Yeah.
Which I
And-
guess now we start getting into the question of, and Gal, you're a great example. You have the option to have gigabit service and you don't because you just don't need it, right?
There's no need. I'm a household, right? So I don't see any household. It doesn't matter how many people you're hosting. I can host a party over here where everybody is connected to my Wi-Fi, right? And I'm not approaching. I'm nowhere near saturation, and I have a 500 megabyte line,
Yep.
and I don't think I'm using over. I mean, I am utilizing the download in peaks, right?
Mhm.
Great. I don't need it. Uh, uh, if you take out the continuous download that I do, I don't need more than 100. And
Yeah.
so, and I also I have family watching through my Plex server and stuff like that, right? I never go above 100. I don't think I've ever went above 50. So it's nice that I can get it. I don't need it, and I don't want to pay for it.
It's symmetrical.
Yeah, it's
And do
symmetrical
they have-
500. I'm not using it the 500 upload.
I remember Spectrum has a restriction on their home internet service that if they detect a server, they will somehow they detect a server, they'll say you're running a business, you have to have a business account. So does AT&T look that granular to look at what you're doing to say looks like because you're obviously doing a lot of upstream
Yeah,
too.
so what? But I'm not a service.
Oh, I know,
I'm
but
not I'm not a business.
Amnon, do you remember this?
So,
I remember
How-
this, and I can tell you that if you read the agreements that you have with Google or with AT&T or whoever, it does mention there that it's not to be used as you cannot run a server, but they don't make anything out of it.
They're just protecting themselves
Yeah.
legally. There's
Yeah.
no other reason.
Yeah.
Than that. But again, it just brings forward the question: how is this just marketing?
Le-
I mean, obviously, they've literally doubled the speeds, but for what purpose? Who is this marketed towards, or is this just them able to squeeze more money out of people with really no extra overhead?
I think
it's
it's
Because there is no
marketing
extra
for the
overhead.
sakes of marketing. It's just a
Yeah.
marketing arms race.
Let me tell you
Good
something.
morning.
Right?
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Gene.
Yeah, hi. On this subject, I mentioned to you last week I was thinking of going to AT&T fiber because the fiber came into the area. Well,
Yeah.
I ended up doing that. I had Spectrum and I had Verizon for my cell phone. I did have an AT&T account for DirecTV. I like DirecTV because of the NFL ticket, but I didn't have anything else. So I got a bundle put in last week or at the beginning of the week with AT&T fiber.
Yeah.
I'm getting better than 300 up, 300 down. I switched my phones over to AT&T, cell phone, house phone, got rid of my Verizon. I got rid of Spectrum, and I'm saving about $70 a month.
Very nice.
So can you send that $70 to us?
Yeah, come and get it.
Okay.
Oh,
We'll be
very
there this
nice.
afternoon.
All right, I just thought I'd let you know. I was thinking about it, but I did it, and I'm glad I did it because right now everything is super fast.
Did they
and I
run?
enjoy it.
Did they bury the fiber, or they left it running on top for now?
It's on top and going to be buried. They got it marked. It's a very
Yeah.
thin cable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gene,
They're
did you
gonna
get any?
bury it.
Did you get any grief from Verizon for canceling?
No,
They didn't
I mean
mention.
they do it.
'cause Am-
They do it. The AT&T guys did.
But
They-
Verizon
they-
gave Amnon a hard time,
Yeah,
saying
real
that he
hard
had
time.
to pay a fee, even though it's like, well, where is this in the contract? If I have no contract, how can there be a fee?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they tried.
Yeah, they tried.
So it was.
Yeah, be vigilant and check, see that you're not being charged or anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
wait until
Yeah.
wait until your final bill.
Right. Yeah, I'll have to see that.
Yeah.
Because it was the AT&T guys. They had two guys over here. One worked on the fiber, get the fiber set up for my internet, and the other guy worked on the phones and all. And they were here probably about 5 hours. It was a long process.
Yeah.
But they dumped Verizon while they were doing it, or after they did it.
Nice.
Okay, I just thought I'd let you know.
All right, Gene.
Right.
Congrats,
Take care.
enjoy.
So
Let me tell you
It's just-
something. Let me tell you something about the speeds from an ISP point of view. It is a whole lot easier to provide everybody with the what you have versus having to meter. So any ISP would rather everybody got 1 gigabit. That's it. I mean, this is why if you try to get Google Fiber now, they don't give you 100. They don't give you 500. It's 1 gigabit, and that, or 2 if you want to, because they don't want to bother with those, meter this and meter that. So ISPs would rather see it like this. I don't know if this is one of the reasons they did this.
But here's the
Just-
thing: they're not upgrading all of their gigabit customers to 2 gigabits. They're offering it as another plan, and
Correct.
I guess the only thing I can think of is what Gal said. It's got to be marketing.
It
Because
is.
There's no. I can't think of a use case in which you're saturating a gigabit and you're like, well, damn, if only I had 2. I'm looking at their website right now, and I'm looking at what they say, and it's, Frontier Fiber 2 gig leaves cable behind. Video chat with confidence, 50 times faster uploads than cable. Play to win.
So that means you have to go.
Less lag than cable, which I guess is latency and ping. And then binge less with buffering, 11 times faster downloads than cable. But all of
They're
these
waiting for
numbers are
some. They're
Yeah.
waiting for some YouTuber to pick it up and just rave about them, right?
Yeah. But even again,
That's-
and then we go back to the old story of you have gigabit service versus 2 gigabit service, and the websites that you're connecting to, like YouTube, will you notice a difference in upload speed between a gigabit and 2 gigabits? My guess would be no. Same thing with downloading games, like from Steam. Are you going to get faster speeds with a 2 gigabit than a gigabit? I just don't think so.
No.
So,
No,
I mean,
this-
obviously, it's going to head this direction, and these companies will continue to, start 1, 2, 5, and eventually it'll go to
No.
10 gigabit. But I just don't know why.
Incrementally, each time the technology changes, they do an upgrade, and so it increases the capacity. The backhaul part of it is all very, very, very fast. So you long ago did 40 gig on a single 40 gig on a frequency. If you had a backhaul fiber connection, each they call it DWDM, dense wavelength division multiplexing. You can have on a single fiber pair 16 40 gig channels
Mhm.
running simultaneously.
Yeah,
And they
but
will
you need the infrastructure.
exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But this stuff was being put in. 40 gig was being put in 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is obviously all of their switching infrastructure and all of that stuff is already 10, if not 20 or 30 gigabit in terms of
Yeah.
switching. So I find it interesting that that all of these companies are starting to jack up these speeds. I might have to go and try and get AT&T.
It
See what
might be
happens.
stable already in your area.
Yeah, I don't know. I just part of me is
We
Yeah.
understand, but
yeah.
I mean, PTSD aside,
Well, it's not even PTSD.
Right.
It's just a pain in the ass because the prop. So what I'm, and I'm gonna be carrying 2 internet bills for at least 3 months because I'm not
Why?
gonna want to cancel because I'm not gonna cancel Spectrum unless I
Well,
know that
because you
AT&T
work.
works.
right? No,
Well-
I mean, come on. He sometimes works from home, right? And he needs it. It's like he can't allow himself not to have.
Well, it's not even that I need it. I could cancel Spectrum, but then if AT&T doesn't work, I'm gonna have to go through the process, ship my
Yeah,
stuff
that's
back
what
to
I mean.
Spectrum. It's
Yeah.
just a huge pain in the ass.
And they're going to give you a
So-
hard time to say, sorry, we don't like you.
Eh,
Yeah.
And say, you can't come back. I want ISDN, actually.
So AT&T actually offers 5 gig in my location.
see, ask them if they have 10.
So
No, but
Two
Can you get
fives.
just one?
can I
like,
get
is
just
that
one
an
5
option?
gig? Okay, you're saying can I get multiple 5 gig connections?
No, can you get 1 gigabyte?
Yeah, they offer
Okay, so they offer.
they offer 300, 500, 1,000, 2 gig and 5 gig are the speeds.
Go
that
on the
they offer.
300. Trust me.
Yeah.
The cheapest.
Actually, I'll probably go with the 500 because it's $5 more a month. It's 55 for 300 or 60 for 500, which is
Then pay the 55. You can always go up a notch, but you can't go down.
Yeah.
So don't take the 300. See if you feel constrained in any way. If you are, then just increase it. They will love taking another $5 a month from you, but they won't let you take it back if you want to reduce it.
yeah. So maybe over the next couple of months I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I would have gotten the 300 from them. But in my case, when I got the AT&T, the 500 was cheaper than the 300. He couldn't explain to
A
me
promotion
why.
or something.
What?
A promotion.
I have no idea, but he couldn't explain it. And I said, well, if it's cheaper, then yeah, I'll get the 500. Because really, you don't need that kind of speed. I mean, even
I
if
can get-
with
I can
everything.
get 5 gig here.
No.
From AT&T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$180.
It seems like the same thing with what Frontier is doing is if you've already got the fiber, they can just turn up the speed on the pair
Yeah.
and call it a day. But again, who the hell needs that? I
And-
do find it interesting how cheap it is in retrospect.
Okay, what is it?
So the 5 gig is $180 a month, and you might go, "Wow, that's expensive," and that is expensive. But if you go over to Spectrum, for example, my internet now is $70 a month.
Yeah.
And
And that's for 400 by 20?
something like that. I'm gonna log into my account and see how much an upgrade would cost
Yeah,
me just for the
that's
hell of it.
ridiculous.
But
yeah.
I want to say because they do offer gigabit download via coax. It's limited at 35, I think.
But it's not
Megabits
symmetrical.
up.
It's
No, it's
down.
not. It's not
Yeah.
even close to symmetrical. But I think it's something like that. So let me see if AT&T will tell me how much, or if Spectrum will tell me how much that is.
Yeah, it's they keep on talking about it and say that they are the fastest. I mean, the commercials, I laugh when I look at it. That we are the fastest. You don't need to go with the other
In
one.
cable, maybe.
In cable, yeah, that's true. Good point.
Spectrum
Well,
here
but-
offers 1 gig on cable.
Yeah, 1 gig download on
Yeah,
cable.
that's it. Yeah. Yeah, I would like to have been switched over to AT&T before I head out
But
to Alaska. I wanted to put an interduct in so they didn't have to tear up my lawn. I just haven't had time to do it. So my cable is still laying on top because I cut the cable when I was doing all the tree removal. So I just ran a cable across, just as laying across the lawn, or dirt right now. I need to put some some orange ribbon on it too, because if when I'm gone and somebody cuts the grass, they don't destroy it.
Yeah, I when they put it here, I actually, until they came to bury it, I picked it up and put it on the fence and just tied it to the fence or laid it there so it'll be off the ground. So if you can string it in the air, like from one point to the other, you save that situation. You prevent that situation from happening, that they will cut it. If somebody cut it when they, let me tell you something. John, a friend John, had his service disrupted, and that's just DSL. And he called and he asked me, and I said, "We just ask him if it's you or the area." So he did, and they said, "No, they say just me." And they said that the cable was cut about 11,000 feet from my house, but they have to get a permit in order to dig it up to fix it.
11,000 feet?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah, 11,000. I mean, because that's not far.
11,000 feet? That's 3 miles.
Yeah. I mean, you know where he lives. I mean, it's not like there are.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, but the thing is, they told him they had to get a permit to dig it up. And they said, we don't know when this is going to happen.
That's because they have to go under 540.
I have no idea. I mean, what happens if the cable is under the bridge? If it's, there are situations that are really weird. And he was without internet for over a week. And I told him, I said, well, go ahead and find from T-Mobile something wireless, find out, because he's AT&T. I said, find out if they can give you a wireless solution for the time being. And he sent a message back and he said, they can't do any of these things, but they told me that it'll be fixed by Sunday. So by today. He said, we'll see. That's really, really bad. Yeah, Nick, so what'd you find out?
I'm still trying to find out. This is
well, if you're paying 70, that's I would think this is actually the 20. I mean, 200 by 10.
No, it's I've got I can tell you what I have.
I mean, just do a speed test and it'll tell you what speed you have. You can figure out.
No, I have the 400 megabit plan through.
Okay,
Spectrum.
so it's by 20.
No, it's by 35.
Oh,
I believe.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to pay less for fiber with AT&T for 500 symmetrical, and definitely less for 300. So it's
I was just trying to see what the upgrade cost was, but for some reason, Spectrum doesn't seem to even give me the option.
Yeah, you really care more about uploading with the show and all.
Yeah. I'm just it's surprising though how relatively inexpensive 5 gigabit is. If for some reason you needed it.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine.
I guess maybe, I can think of a use case, but it's business. If you're an apartment complex or something like that, and you offer free Wi-Fi to your tenants, but that's business anyway. And those speeds have been available for businesses for quite some time anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Of course, you can bring it in and give free Wi-Fi to some of your friends' tenants.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, yeah, if the complex, that's a business. Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. It's just interesting. That's all.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Frontier does it. They're not, I'm sure they're not stupid. They figured out we need to do it. And they're doing it, and it's all good. The fact that they're doing it, it's good. it's a step in the right direction any way you look at it. So it's yeah. All right. Are we done talking about that?
Oh, I just had a
Yeah.
question for Nick. Does your house have, from the roof, have direct line of sight to the building you work in?
No.
Oh, too bad. Because I have a wireless and what do you call it? Over distance bridge that will go up to 5 kilometers.
Yeah. What's the speed on it though?
54 meg.
So you're telling me to go get AT&T's 5 gigabit connection to do a 54 meg
Yeah,
link?
why not? I mean, that's why you can have a direct connection to work. So
I'm
still have this in my attic. It's been sitting there for like 12 years.
Well, you're worse than Amnon. Get rid of it.
Yeah, I know. Well,
54 meg.
I
mean, Christ, I can't even think what you would. I don't even know what you'd be able to do with that.
I don't have a container I could put it in. So.
Yeah. Vince, how old is it?
Oh, at least 15 years.
You see, Nick, this is the point. Back then, 54 was wow.
No, it wasn't. 54 megs in 2005.
Wireless backhaul between locations. This was meant to bridge right of way. And there were all kinds of interesting technologies they use, but we sold this. It was an OEM. And
it could be useful for telemetry, but you're not passing any serious data.
If you lived on a farm and you had internet coming to the house that was by the road and you needed to send it to another building somewhere else, this was a commercial product. This was not a residential product. But we tested it. We went out on a country road. 2 of the engineers that worked for me, and they said, let's see how this works. They literally couldn't see each other. They kept driving further and further and further out on this road. And they had a signal going out 3 kilometers.
Oh.
But it was meant to solve a problem. It wasn't meant to be, the only connection. I'd like to find somebody who could use it. Under some place it could be used. Who knows? But I need to get rid of it. I also have a wireless, commercial wireless central hub based system that you put the access points out and they're dumb. Everything goes through the switch. And it's gone back and forth over the years. The systems went with intelligent access points and back to switching at the core. And I don't even know what's out there now. But I've got that too sitting new in the box. But it's all 802.11b.
Thank God I've got my PCM CIA card that's 802.11b, so I can connect.
I have some of those still in a. I got to.
All right, for those.
Why do I have this?
Those of you that use Linux,
used to use Linux. Is that what you meant to say?
Huh?
Did you mean to say for those of you that used to use Linux?
Well, okay. Got it. Linux kernel developers have discussed on the kernel developers forum to remove Riser FS from the kernel starting in 2022. This was added in 21 years ago.
Yeah. This file system has a very interesting history.
Not the file system, the person.
No, the author of it.
Yeah. So
nobody FS ever written by a murderer.
Yeah. And no updates were done for it, so they decided to remove it. Hopefully nobody's using it. I remember when it all happened, Ron told me, he said, there's a great operating system.
File system.
Fast and flexible and all that. But I'm not going to put it on because the guy murdered his wife. And he's in jail, so we're not going to use it. And so they said it because there was no fixes to it in all these years. They decided to remove it. And anyway, they said these days there are better alternatives like ext4, btrfs, xfs, and OpenZFS.
Did he murder his wife over the file
No.
system? Oh,
Oh no.
I don't remember
No, but
what the story was. But,
it was a sordid story. Yeah.
yeah.
RiserFS was one of the first better journaling file system. So this was before ext4. I'm pretty sure it was either before or in parallel to ext3, and it was one of the high performance file system at the time. But then that happened. I wasn't even aware that the story around the developer, his last name is Riser, came up, and so I remember years after that, like probably in the past couple of maybe 3 years, I looked back and said, whatever happened to that file system? Or no, I was reading up on ZFS a lot, and somebody in the forum asks a question about RazorFS, and somebody mentioned the murder, right? No, went back and read about it. Really bizarre that it's tied right with the Linux lore. Yeah, a very sad story, but yeah, a very weird one as well.
Okay, I'm not actually trying to make a joke here. So he already had this thing was already out in standard, and then he murdered his wife, or
yeah. I mean, the murder of his wife has zero to do with the file system or the development of it or anything.
I was just curious if
he was a disturbed person, and if you go to the Wikipedia page about I don't even know if it's about him or about the file system, and it's mentioned there. It's like he tried to hide it and stuff, so he was involved in this very surrealistic bad Hollywood movie plot. But he was the villain. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Jason said they wanted.
I don't remember from where. Yeah.
Jason is saying they wanted to rename it to Murder FS at one point.
Oh God.
Well, that's the internet for you. Come on.
That's
boy.
good. That's
yeah,
really
that's low. Anyway, all right.
How long has this thing been out? I assume. I mean, if it's
21
20
years.
years.
21 years it's been out.
Yeah, this is beginning of 2000, late 1990s.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it says that with SUSE, SUSE, using it as the default file system until 2006.
Right. That's probably how I knew it, through SUSE.
Yeah. All right. So here's something that since you moved to Windows, so here's something about Windows that people need to know. I mean, this is interesting.
Bill Gates murdered 1 million people with the vaccine. Is that where this story's going?
No.
I should never have told you about this.
Microsoft's MVP Rudy Ooms has discovered that the built-in Windows data wiping functions leave user data behind in the latest versions of Windows 10 and Windows 11.
Ooh.
This error applies to both local and remote wiping of PCs running Windows 10 version 21H2 and Windows 11 version 21H2.
You know why, Amnon? They are not using the Norton tools wipe tool.
I didn't even know that they had such a thing. But yeah, if you're using it, if you wiping drives with Windows built-in wiping tool, you need to think about this. I mean, this is somebody that's an MVP from Microsoft.
Yeah, but now
What?
It's too late for
that's right.
It's
too late.
It's like they are now sweating
But for
There's nothing
future,
to be done.
yeah,
If they
future.
sold the discs off or something, or gave it to a friend or whatever, right? They can't go back. It's like
All right, here's
it's like learning that while you were dating your girlfriend, she had a venereal disease, right? It's like, come on,
God, Jesus.
come on.
Wow. I wasn't expecting
Oh,
that.
God.
Christ almighty.
Okay,
And-
the flu. Okay, the flu.
Oh, well, yeah, it's just a little different there, Ga. I mean, 6.5 one, half dozen the other, I guess.
But that's the thing. It's you can't go back. You can't go and undo whatever you need to be done. It's
You
like
can. You go to the doctor and they give you some.
you can't even go to the doctor. It's like you can't reach.
You can. You can go to
this
Linux.
anymore.
That's the solution to the problem.
a new claim that that Microsoft and Google are gaming the online advertising market to the detriment of smaller rivals threatens to set up a new antitrust clash in Europe.
Who is this?
Microsoft and Google.
Microsoft and Google.
Okay.
And Google,
Okay, perfect.
according to previously unseen data. This is from Politico. The two US giant appear to be flooding smaller search engine partners with spam ads and keeping some of the most valuable ads for themselves, according to data reviewed by Politico. In a move that draws parallels with the infamous 2.7 billion Google shopping case. I don't know what is that 2.7 billion, but when you mention to me spam and Microsoft and Google, one thing comes to mind. The biggest spam distributors are Gmail and Outlook. It is getting ridiculous. And, I think I'm doing a very good job in blocking spammers by blocking their servers. You cannot block Outlook or Gmail. And I would say 90% of the emails that are coming in as spam are actually originate with a Gmail or Outlook.com. Outlook, not just Outlook.com, Outlook services.
Is that possible? It's spoofed?
No. This, we're looking at, when I block somebody, I look at the headers, the actual headers. Because you don't want to block somebody who actually was spoofed.
Well, think about all the things that have come out in the last year or so about unnamed companies supporting, not doing enough to stop like human trafficking,
Mm-hmm.
because it just happens, and they haven't really done anything, but they'll shut down somebody they don't want to hear talk.
Yeah.
But yet at the same time, there are these organizations that have been proven to be. I met one of the local police officers that is a human trafficking and pedophilia guy, who's the detective that does this stuff. He says, you wouldn't believe what's out there that's on these social media sites that it's just all happening and they don't do anything about it. It's easy to find.
And it's ridiculous that these two companies who can actually, it's within their ability very easily to stop
Yep.
all spam completely, are not doing anything about it and actually allowing it to go through. And they're different every time it happens. When I read,
I don't get the stop all spam completely.
okay, the spam.
How do you think?
I'll tell you how. I'll tell you how. Right now, not just right now, even 15 years ago, there is a function in Postfix, and all the other mail servers that say that if you are not a legitimate email server,
Right.
according to FQDN and other details of what your IP is associated with, then don't accept any mail from them because they are not legit. It's just like
These are legit.
what?
It's Gmail. These are legit. It's Gmail.
No, I understand. But the thing is, where it's starting from
Where it's
is
starting from. They are using Gmail accounts to
Yeah.
so
Okay.
how can they stop those Gmail accounts from being created? That's where
you
the
know,
spam is
yeah, okay.
originating.
I see what you mean, but there's still a lot of email coming out from other sources.
Oh, for sure.
And
Yeah.
we decided, I mean, I wanted to create a mail server that stops most of the spam. And we invoked those options 15 years ago, and I talked about it on the show before. We started blocking big companies because their mail servers were not configured correctly.
Right.
And I used to call this is in the days when you could call and talk to the networking engineer of a company and tell them, look, you got this and you got that, you need to fix it. But it got to be a full-time job. We said, you know what, let's forget about it. I tried it again a few months ago. It is still the same thing. So if Microsoft and Google will say, okay, this is how we're going to do mail from now on. If you are not legit, if you're misconfigured, because a lot of things that are misconfigured these days, whether it's a website, whether it's DNS, no, we're not going to service you. If they decided to do it, then everybody and their mothers will get in and say, okay, we need to make sure that everything is configured right. Maybe I went too far to say all spam, most spam. Then they need, I mean, Gmail, you try to send Gmail spam. Never mind spam. The thing that's being blocked the most is from our mail server. I mean, mail list server, mailing list. And they send it back and they say, no, this is unsolicited. Well, it is solicited. It's people that are signing up. It's not opt out. It's you have to opt into it. And you explain it to them again and again and again, and it doesn't help. Well, you can block that, but you cannot look at what people are sending through your servers. Me, a little ISP, we look at what people are sending out. We look.
Let's see.
We're running through the spam filter.
But see, that's precisely the thing right there. You're a little ISP. And I'm not saying Google, it can't do that. But how many pieces of mail go through Google a day?
It doesn't matter.
Billions of pieces?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's all a machine thing. It's looking, and just like they're filtering the incoming, it can filter the outgoing the same way. So some will fail. Okay, some will fail. But it will stop a lot of them. And they're not doing it. It's like maybe they're making money from it. I mean,
well, I mean, people are using their service, so I mean, I'm sure they're making something.
Yeah. I guess. So that's why I'm saying, that's why I'm mad that here you are the ones that can do it and you're not doing anything. I mean, here Google said, okay, if there's no HTTPS, forget it. We're not going to index you. Well, everybody got HTTPS. No.
It's not necessarily true.
What?
You're still indexed. You're not priority indexed.
You are penalized.
Below, yeah.
You are penalized. You are
Correct.
okay. So what did people do? Or the legitimate websites do? they start getting HTTPS. I mean, the SSL.
Not only the legitimate ones.
What?
Every scam shopping website
Well-
today has a Let's Encrypt.
Yeah, it's true. That's true too. Yeah.
Right. It's
But I mean, they caused the whole. They caused everybody.
That
to
was a
get,
good move. I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it affects everyone. It affects the scammers and the legit ones. It's not. It's like it's all the same effect as the security guy at the entrance to the mall, right?
Yeah.
He has never stopped a terrorist attack
right.
or shoplifting or whatever, right? He just makes everybody uncomfortable evenly.
Especially if he looks you in the eye.
All right, Spence, are you
Doesn't
ready
walk
for
in.
specials?
I am ready. I am ready. And
All
I have
right.
to preface this with this will probably be it'll probably be a while before you get any more specials from me. So I leave Friday for Fairbanks for a little bit different scenario this year where I am going up to help train new drivers. And I'll be there for 2 months. So I'm going to try, since I'm not going to be working like a regular schedule, I should actually have some Sundays open. I will do my best
We'll see.
to try to stop in, but it will be 9 o'clock here will be 5 o'clock there in the morning. So we'll see what happens.
All right.
Maybe I'll record something and just send it to you. We'll see. But it'll be an adventure. First time I'm doing this. And it's exciting in that I haven't been up there for the last 2 seasons because they were canceled. But it's they're going full bore wide open this year. Already booked. I mean, the bookings are amazing. So it looks like it's going to be busy. All right. So starting with staples, we have a Lenovo Ideapad i3. This is an entry level. What it says i3 laptop with Pentium processor. So I'm not sure what that means. Really, if it's an i3, it's an i3. If it's a Pentium, it's a Pentium. But
it doesn't
entry.
say i3.
It does. It says iPad i3 laptop.
No, it
Unless that's
doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Where it doesn't say where.
Read it again.
Lenovo iPad i3.
No,
laptop
it's
with
not
Pentium.
i3.
What does it say?
Read it again. 3i.
3i. You're right. Dyslexia right there. That's right. 5. No, well, you think the next one says 5i.
Yeah, 5i. It's
i5.
yeah, but
So
look
that's
at
what confused me. I'm
Yeah.
thinking, wait a second. But I looked at the processor when I looked at this. So for $369, it's $100 off. It's a good price for a entry level Lenovo machine, and it is a logical 4-core. It's 2 cores with 4 logical processors,
Okay.
a Pentium processor. So $369. Got it. And when I say ISO, it means in store only. So these are specials, but you have to go pick it up. They can't be shipped. Lenovo 5i laptop with Core i5 processor for
Right.
$599, which is $130 off. And we've got a Asus Chromebook with Intel Celeron for $199, which is $50 off. Or the price of desktops is just used to be incrementally lower than buying a laptop, but not the case anymore. i5 Intel Pavilion desktop for $569, which is $100 off. Got 2 deals on HP monitors, 24-inch monitor for $129, that's $40 off, and a 27-inch monitor for $169, which is $50 off. They have a lot of options for USB drives, portable USB drives. 2 terabyte Seagate One Touch for $66.99, which is $16 off. Got a Seagate 4 terabyte hard drive portable One Touch. Sorry, it's just read different. $89.99, save $25. TP-Link AX3000 Wi-Fi 6 dual band router for $119, that's $20 off. Now this, you can either buy the AC or AX version of this. Both of them have a proprietary fast handoff, like mesh system. I don't know if it works for more than 2 routers, but you can if you have a small house and you can put a wired connection to 2 rooms on either side. You can build a fairly robust network for a little bit of money and have some nice features, but a good wireless router. So also here, Linksys has a 867 megabits. They don't say in the ad whether it's AC. It's definitely not AX, but it's definitely up there. So 487 megabit USB adapter. I think you'd be hard pressed to tax that. You're going to probably get something less than that in actual real throughput, but $39 is 10 off. Got an Epson rapid receipt wireless duplex receipt scanner for $399. That's 100 off. Hey, it's tax season. People need to be scanning in their receipts. My accountant actually uses a system because of COVID. People didn't want to come to the office. He set up now a spreadsheet that has click to add documents. So you go in and you fill this thing up and then you send them the file, and all your receipts and documents you need to send him are all embedded in the Excel spreadsheet. It's really brilliant. Took a while to get to work right, but scanner is a wonderful thing to have, especially if you've got sheet feeder on it. And finally, it's not on sale. They're hard to find. This is what used to be the $99 Brother printer. It's a duplex printer, but it is not wireless. It has to be USB connected. But if your circumstances are that works for you, you don't need to share it across the network. You can share it from your PC. But entry-level Brother black and white laser printer for $109.99. I still haven't seen them on sale. So I guess, but the supply is back. Okay, moving on to Office Depot, Office Max. We've got a HP 15.6-inch AMD Ryzen 3 for $389, which is $80 off. $80 off. Got an HP 15.6 Ryzen 7 for $599, which is $145 off. Got an Asus VivoBook Core i3 for $379, but keep in mind, this is an S mode. So you'd have to pay to upgrade this to regular mode Windows 10 in order to not have to buy
I don't
stuff.
think you need to pay.
No, you don't pay.
You don't have to pay for it anymore?
No.
It used to be that you had to I thought you had to do that originally.
No, they have a page on their website showing you how to do it.
Oh, good. All right, so there you go.
They,
but
they
this
just
is
state
S-mode.
what are you opening your app for. They do it on machines that are targeted at kids because it's safer working only from the store. So
yes, yeah, it makes sense. So it actually good price for a entry level Core i3 $379. So save $170. Got an HP Slim Ryzen 3 for $499, save $90. And we had 2 printers on sale. It's this same printer, but one in black and one in white. EcoTank ET2800. This is a Epson printer, $199, which is $50 off. The EcoTank has large replaceable tanks. You don't have to replace the print heads. I had one of these that was a Brother a long time ago, and it worked great until the print head had a problem, which made it impossible to replace. This was part of a carrier that you couldn't access as a consumer. You could send it in to have it repaired, but it wasn't worth it. But for years, I used it. I love the ink tank thing because you could take them out, fill up the tank, put it back in, and you didn't mess with the print head. $199, $50 off. Logitech C922 ProStream webcam was $79, save $20. Comes with a little tripod stand. This is something that you don't see much of on specials or ads. Excuse me. Is it just a good old regular Desit earbud, like a portable headset? So this is a nice feature. These are relatively long distance, so you can attach this to your POTS phone. I don't know if this one supports USB connectivity. I didn't look at the features there. Probably does.
not.
So you could, if you had a voice client on your computer that you're using, you could also send it to this headset. I had a Plantronics one that you could switch back and forth between POTS and USB, but I could walk all around the house and the charge lasted for over 8 hours, and you could just tap it to answer your phone calls. It's really good if you work at home. But $43, $20 off, $22 off. This is a very useful device. Got something from Triplite, USB-C docking station with 4K HDMI and VGA. So that means, and gigabit Ethernet. It means it's very flexible as far as if you have old monitors with VGA or new monitors with HDMI. Plus, it's got a gigabit Ethernet connection. I don't know if it does through charging. I don't think so for this price. But USB-C, $59.19, $12 off. This next one, you looked at the price. Wait a second, a wireless. This is wired and wireless keyboard for $93. Well, the reason it's that is this is exactly the same keyboard you get on a laptop, except it's portable. So if you work on a laptop and also have a desktop at home, or you want to link it by Bluetooth to something else, this is kind of cool because you don't have to worry about going. I kind of struggle with my Lenovo laptop keypad. This one does not have a glide pad on it. It's got the touch button, touch track points. And the glide pad on my particular Lenovo is got a lot of features in it that I actually need to disable because I'm always touching something that I don't want to happen on the screen. But like if you click in the wrong place, it's not to open up cut and paste or whatever. If you're just an inch off of where you should be, it doesn't work right. Or it does another function. But this could be interesting. So it's $93.97. It's only $6 off. And this next one, Amnon, this is for you. This is a keyboard you hang around your neck. So you can use your fingers to type. You just lay it on both shoulders and you can just type like that. Pretty
Okay.
Cool. I can't see except that you could actually turn both halves a little bit to make it a little easier to type. But it's kind of like when I tried to learn how to fly a drone. If the drone flew out and turned, I didn't spend enough time to teach myself how to make it turn and still hold the controller with the joysticks and think of it as having going 90 degrees.
Mhm.
So I would fly it out, keeping the camera straight ahead, and then fly it to the side with the same orientation. I just couldn't, like I said, I couldn't wrap my head around. What I needed to have was the screen showing me the picture from the camera. I never got that far. But I was pretty good at flying it around the yard, around trees, and under and over things, as long as I kept it in that orientation. Because spatial coordination just wasn't there yet without the camera. But this would be interesting to see if you could do this and have both halves of the keyboard like at a 45-degree angle and still be able to work. I think you'd have to train yourself. It might not be the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, I think you remember these.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So it's the Microsoft. What did they call them?
Wave keyboard.
Ergonomic.
Microsoft Comfort Curve, right?
Yeah.
The keyboards that are curved. So this is like a cheap manufacturer's solution to it, right? Let's just have the keyboard and allow you any angle you want, not just the one that the factories.
This company probably had a bunch of bad keyboards and they took the half that works from here and the half that works from there and say, hey, we can
what
sell it
happened
like
was
that.
they had on their manufacturing line, the guy set up the tools wrong and they wound up cutting all the boards in half. So they said, we got to figure out how to use this.
How to use that,
Yeah.
All right.
And they
Very
mark up the
interesting.
price for double because it's ergonomic. So
That's right. Freestyle.
yeah.
Wow. Okay, this last one, excuse me. You say, why is an 8-port gigabit switch $52? Well, it says unmanaged, but it really does support a lot of features. So you can't go in and manage or change anything, but it does have a 16 gig switching fabric, which means you have 8 ports, that's 8 gig. So really you've got port to port full bandwidth switching, which is nice. Now, if you went to 3 ports, you'd be dividing the bandwidth down. But one of the things when gigabit Ethernet switches first came out was Yeah, you might have 16 gigabit Ethernet ports on the front of this card in a switch, in a modular switch, but the backplane connection was 2 gig. So you had to throttle everything down. This is a very fast switch. So if you have a requirement inside your enterprise to do very fast connections between machines, this is one that will not, I don't know if you call it non-blocking, because non-blocking would mean that every port has full access to every other port and to the uplink connection. But this is, that's why it's 52 bucks. It does store and forward, which is great for when you really flood the thing. It's got 802.3x flow control. It's got supports jumbo frames, which in some environments is important. 802.1 QoS. So this is a sophisticated switch for the price. It just doesn't have management capabilities. You can go in and set policies and things like that in QoS. So it's going to recognize that here's a packet that's tagged for QoS. I will respect that and treat it with a higher priority, which is great. So
yeah, and you can't screw it up by humans.
That's exactly
it's
right.
Unmanaged.
Exactly right. So, okay, and finally, moving on to just was going to look for some stuff that's out there, weird stuff, on Amazon, and I came across a few things. Some of them aren't so weird, but Amnon, this next one is for you. It's a tissue box holder with a phone holder too that you can slide in there. So you can put it in the kitchen and fold the phone and also have tissues in it. Brilliant, huh? I might buy this and give this to people for gifts.
I should have had a built-in charger. I would have gotten.
Well, it's still open on one side, so you can plug in the charger. Right. All right. Now I have a question with this. This is a good 128 gig SDXC card for $19, but it's for Nintendo Switch. Will this work?
It's just marketing.
It's just okay.
It'll
So
work.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
That's what I thought. So this is a inexpensive way to get a 128 gig card. So I don't know. It says XC1. So don't know. I can't how to know how it relates to downloads.
Performance.
Performance. It's
I
pretty
mean,
good.
Yeah, XC1 is one of the newer.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't think it's the newest or anything, but it's fast enough. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why the marketing is there. People just know today that it doesn't matter, and it's all just shelling a few more bucks to Nintendo by buying this.
$19.97, normally $34.99. So next, this is another one. If you're in a house where you're fully on board with the Green New Deal and you keep the temperature turned down to 52 degrees during the day and you're cold at your desk, this is a cold protection warm desk pad to keep your hands and things warm on the desk.
Yeah,
brilliant.
why would you want
$21.99.
the electronics to be warm?
That's a good
I
question.
don't get it.
Unless it's really cold in your room. I remember when I worked at home, I had one of those oil-filled heaters under my desk because the temperature in the house upstairs would go down during the day, and I just to keep me warm, I ran that instead of running the heat. Probably running gas heat was probably cheaper than running an electric heater. But all right, so this is an interesting product. You might be able to use it for maybe make a good heating pad if you could sit on it. Right. All right, this next one. Brilliant smart home control 4-switch panel. They make a 2 and 4 switch version of this. This is a wall-mounted, basically a collection point for all these different home automation products. So it says it works with Ring, Sonos, Hue, Google Nest, Wemo, SmartThings, Apple HomeKit, in-wall touchscreen control for lights, music, and more. So you can have this mounted on the wall. If the doorbell rings, it'll show you who's at the door. If you want to control lighting, you can. It sounds like an interesting product. It's expensive, $549. But if it's something that will help somebody who doesn't want to have a simple approach to having this stuff in the home, I wouldn't be surprised if this does work well, that builders who build homes and have home automation part of their package. I know a friend who built a house down by Wilmington who purchased a home automation package that they put in. It was a bundle that they could add on to the building of the cost of the house. So this would be a brilliant way to aggregate all that stuff into a single screen. So what the difference between 2 and 4 switches is I didn't read enough into the documentation to find out what it means. Controlling 4 devices instead of 2 at a time? I don't know. But pretty interesting. And finally,
Yeah.
go ahead, Dal.
No, I mean, home automation is picking up. I think the biggest caveat for home automation, that like the biggest expense that is today will be for home automation will be motorized blinds, because you need power next to the blinds, and eventually motorized windows to open and close the windows. Like that's the next step. Everything else today is wireless, and power isn't really a problem with a light bulb because it's already hooked to power, right? So blinds, I think that's the next thing.
That would be an interesting thing, that homes that are being built
Yeah, exactly. For
might
builders,
include
I think,
outlets below each window. Specifically,
or not below,
above.
actually,
I'm
just
sorry,
above
yeah.
and hidden. Because it's all about solving the eyesore, or it will be within the window frame or something. It needs to be aesthetic. So
I have a solution: Tesla wireless power.
well,
That'll
that
do it, yeah.
I don't know
That's
if it'll come Tesla. Oh, by the way, Tesla. Just because you reminded me, I saw a fantastic car license plate. The license plate on a Tesla was Nikola.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that one.
Yeah,
But no, what I meant by Tesla power, I mean his idea, his technology.
yeah.
There's actually
yeah,
a company
the
out
tower.
of Texas that they built the tower, and they're experimenting with it now. They're trying to develop a product that will use Tesla wireless power. So, all right, and finally, we've seen over the years all kinds of ideas for portable printers. I watched a movie yesterday called Deja Vu. It was with Denzel Washington from 2006, and they were going to an autopsy, and they were still using the Polaroid instant camera, where the picture would slide out the front. 2006, and they had digital cameras then, but I guess they wanted pictures immediately that the police could take with them for an investigation. But the point of this is it's an HP Sprocket. It's called Portable 2x3 Instant Photo Printer. But what makes this interesting is that there's no supplies that go into the printer. The actual print itself has whatever chemicals or whatever it needs to make the picture. So you buy the supplies are what's expensive. So the printer alone is $77, but it's to buy 100
sheets
prints is $107.
Oh,
Now it says one of the things that you can set this up with sharing for like a party. So people could, so I said, that could be really expensive. If people are just taking goofy pictures at a party and they want to have them printed off, it's like that could get out of control. You're talking hundreds of dollars if you keep supplying people with the prints. But it's a clever idea. If you have a business that could use this, or just have a need to have a quickly printed picture, brilliant. And if the actual materials stay available, there were a couple other companies that did this, and I think the problem was that the materials, if it wasn't popular, the materials were no longer available anymore, and it was gone. But it's a nice idea. And it does you can directly connect to it with your Android or iOS device. So pretty neat. And that's it for specials for today's the 27th of February. It's amazing. And there we go.
all right. Well, thank you.
Oh, Gene says, don't forget my fishing poles. Every year I'm up there, and every year every time I go up there, I've had opportunities to go fish, and I just wasn't in my schedule that I could do it. And I need to go. Actually, going to be up there a week at the second half of the year, summer, to for a week where I'm not working. So hopefully I'm going to get out there and actually fish. Would be nice.
All right. Here's a piece of interesting information. In 2017, Bell Canada, TVA, Videotron, and Rogers teamed up in a lawsuit against the operator of TV add-on, the largest repository of Kodi add-ons. The legal action proved extremely controversial, but now, after many twists and turns, the matter is now over. As part of a consent judgment, TV add-ons founder Adam Lackman has admitted liability and agreed to pay a cool $19.5 million in damages. That's coming from Torrent Free. Gal, were you aware of that, Nick?
No, but I really hope he has how to pay that.
Oh, well.
I mean, I'm trying to think somebody running even a very successful website, right? To be able to pay $19 million in damages, let's say it was phenomenally successful. The ads incurred so much, like I wouldn't see how he would be able to pay it. So
Yep.
it's a tough, it's an interesting problem to solve. Yeah. No, there were a lot of stuff like that. Usually those sites just disappear, but here they probably pinpoint that specific person. And yeah, I haven't dealt with Kodi add-ons for years now, probably 4 or 5 years. So I'm not too familiar with the scene.
This a little on the political side, kind of. That 9 to 5 Mac reports that Apple Store employees at several retail stores in the U.S. are said to be planning to unionize. Groups at 2 stores are reportedly preparing paperwork to file with the National Labor Relations Board, with about 6 more locations at earlier stages of planning. The Post also says that the main source of unrest is due to wages. Apple pays retail employees in the range of $17 to $30 an hour, depending on role and seniority. However, the workers say these rates have not kept up with inflation.
And they are still higher than most retail jobs, right? No, I'm just asking. I'm not even critiquing.
It is higher. I mean, $30 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for the price Apple takes on their hardware,
Right.
they should pay their employees a lot more. But
Sure.
I don't get the unionizing thing too much because I'm probably not too familiar with the history and what it means here in the States. But when I'm thinking about union workers, right, it's usually long-term employees. Or am I missing something? Am I
No,
I
it's got
looking
nothing
at
to
it
do with
incorrectly?
it.
Oh,
Doesn't.
you're right.
Well, it doesn't have anything to do with the employees.
No, but the protection
long
of
or
a
short.
union usually
It's
kicks
the
in for
protection of
long
the-
term.
It's
Yeah,
the-
usually the historically unions are something that you wanted to get pulled into.
Yeah.
And typically the jobs that they were doing were jobs where there were apprentices and journeymen and so on that were long term, where you had status that you move up in the union because you had different qualifications. And
Right. So
Yeah.
they were there to protect employees.
but with the
yes,
like
I understand, but you
telecommunicate-
don't get the protection automatically, right? So
with the
You have to
with
pay
the advent
dues.
of like the telecommunications union and the aerospace workers union and all those, it changed. And the problem we have is that the people who are represented by the union are not getting the benefits that they expect.
Yeah.
And they're paying through the nose to belong to these unions. And I mean, some of them are good and some of them are necessary, I think, for safety and all that. But it's an interesting. My dad was a Teamster, and basically for 30 years got screwed because they would go on strike every year, and my mother would have to save money for the month and a half that they were on strike, and she'd get a strike check for $15 from the union.
Yeah.
It was insane. I mean, it was my father had ulcers because of it, because every year he'd have to stop. He painted houses when they went on strike because there was just nothing else he could do. Yeah, I don't have a good. I was almost in a union in a grocery store. I'm glad I didn't join. I was making $1.30 an hour, and I was going to join a union.
So that's what I don't get about the all the talk of unionization. It seems like it's an important discussion. It's just the wrong tool. I don't know.
It's,
Well,
I mean, the way that I look at it, it's like the government. You are electing somebody to speak for you to the powers that be, and
it's about amassing power. It's always about amassing power, right?
for the union themselves, yeah.
Exactly. For now, and representation, power of representation always has trouble and stuff like that. It's just mechanics with workers. I mean, we're not a political show, but it's like I always find it really, really bizarre that this is the tool of choice. I mean, yes, organization is required. It just seems like, especially so I can get it with Tesla, which is a factory, right? You're talking about the low income workers, which are the majority, to have a voice on the board, right? I get that. I even get the concept of why it would be very enticing for retail workers in Apple to think that this is a solution, but they are transitory. I mean, show me one retail person in Apple that is coming there for a 10-year career, right? They want to do it either while they're it's like a temporary job for a very limited time, and that is why the wager is also low compared to any other Apple wager they give, right? So feels like if a store unionize it will benefit probably one person who's going to become the head of the union, and he's planning to stay for the long haul and amass power, but he won't really care
that's
about
where the corruption
the
came
employees. Yeah.
But did you ever encounter any problem in your job with unions?
I mean, we don't have a lot of low paid jobs.
No.
Right?
You don't. I mean, I'm not talking internally. I'm sure, Spence, you have stories about going to shows that I mean, you're
not
going
just shows, working in buildings where we had unions represented, electricians, carpenters, and all that. I'd walk in. If I took my suit coat off, when I worked for IBM, I'd wear a suit. If I took it off, the shop steward would shut the building down because they said, "Oh, a suit. He's going to be doing something on the job site." I couldn't walk up to a table with blueprints unless a union guy was there with me to flip the pages.
I mean, there are so many stories about things like that, Gal, that you go and you try, you go somewhere with a truck and you want to deliver something or to take something into a show. And no, wait a second. These boxes are going to be hauled in by Union A. These boxes, the bigger ones, are by Union B. These boxes, I mean, it's ridiculous.
And
can I?
Yeah.
Because I think we're not answering Gal's question.
Right.
His question is why he's trying to figure out why is this such a thing here in the United States? And I think there's a couple reasons for it, Gal. And again, without getting too crazy political into it, there's this big push, and it tends to be more on the left side of the political aisle. We especially see it in the video game industry of unionizing. And I agree, the traditional thought of what a union is, these things are not, for some weird reason. These unions don't add any protections. They don't really do a whole hell of a lot of anything. The current unions, again, you go back to the what Spence is describing of the blue collar days of unions, it was one thing. But what's going on now with these unions is they essentially hold these companies hostages. I mean, it's not, they don't even have the best interest. There's been case after case of, fast food things, or a couple of Starbucks in Buffalo unionized a couple of months ago. And the union's not fighting for their workers at all.
It's a shakedown.
It's a shakedown.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see how something that, and obviously I'm not the biggest fan of unions in the world, but they do absolutely have their place, safety and things like that Amnon talked about. The reason we have weekends is because of unions back in the early 1920s, when they had people working 7 days a week for 12 hours a day. But these current unions, as you mentioned, Gal, at a fast food joint or at an Apple store, which is a retail job that you might work when you're in college, it don't make any sense.
Right.
There's nothing there. It's just very odd.
It's like me joining a union when I was in high school.
You're not a tradesman. You're not working there you're presumably not going to be there your whole career. You're not a lineman. You're not doing anything like that. They're not really unions. It's very weird.
Yeah, and the unions want you to join because you pay dues and they make more money.
Well, and that's part of it too. And there's this big push from, again, just calling it how I see it. It tends to be more of the progressive side of the political aisle that's pushing for these unions, and it's more. And what I'm starting to see, and the reason I'm following this so closely is because it's happening pretty prominently in the video game sphere, is this a complete and total attack on capitalism that these companies are doing. So the unions, of course, want their employees, their union members, to get the highest wages possible for the least amount of work. That's the goal in any position. Let's just paint with a broad brush. Work is, do what you need to do, get paid the highest salary possible. That's the goal. What is the business's goal? To pay you as little as possible, make as much profit as possible. That's the breakdown. But some of the things that these unions are doing, especially in the gaming field, is attacking the companies and going after the companies and trying to hit them in the dollar, which is not going to help the workers. It's only going to hurt the workers, because the least profitable the company becomes, the lower they're going to pay wage-wise. So it's this new push of unions is very, very interesting. Very interesting.
A great story to tell. Remember when GM went bankrupt? And part of
talking about 2008 or earlier than that?
Yeah. Well, no,
Okay.
the 2008 when that whole thing, when they bought out
Mhm.
GM.
Yeah.
And the Saturn division was up for sale, and Penske Auto Group wanted to buy it. And because they wanted to move the factory to a non-union state, the union said no. So they let the Saturn Auto Group basically go away, because it wasn't about people. The people would have gotten jobs. It would have been great economic for, to keep the line of cars going. But because the union objected to it not being a union state, it got trashed. So who were they looking out for?
Well, and that's precisely the problem. Is I think your older days of unions back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s actually did have the intention of the worker in mind. And I'm just not sure that that's the case currently. I could be wrong. I don't know. It just, when you look at the demands that some of these unions are making, you scratch your head and go, who the hell are they looking at after? You're going to try and lock down the company and try and affect profitability? How is that going to help the people that you're trying to represent? I mean, that's stupid.
Now,
a strike is the same idea, right?
Yeah, but a strike's a little bit different. Normally there's a demand that is being met. Time off, higher pay, something like that, right? Normally there's an end goal.
Right. That's what I'm.
But that's not happening in any of this, which is so weird.
And then you have union members on boards of companies, which is like, what is this? Is it collusion?
We talk about in the political sphere, rhinos and dinos, Republicans in name only, Democrats in name only. And it's almost like unions right now are union in name only. They call themselves a union, but they don't follow any of the they don't really have any of the traditional things that unions fought for in mind. It's bizarre.
Like you said, Nick, the history of this was really safety. At first,
Yeah,
there was
100%.
horrible working conditions and people being worked to death, basically. And unions brought about a safer coal industry, a safer railroad industry. All these things that they pushed for were helpful. I had an uncle who was a union railroad guy. My grandfather, who I never met because he died in 1934, was a union railroad worker who was injured on the job and died of complications years later from an injury on the job. So it was necessary. But
yeah, and you were talking about a time in America where, for the first time, industry was a thing. I mean, you had large industry and large business in the early teens and 20s, and I don't think anybody knew exactly what to do. And so you had the businesses that were absolutely treating their employees terribly, but it was just such a weird time, literally the Industrial Revolution in some way, shape, or form. And it was just a very weird time, and they absolutely played a point. But how is a Starbucks unionizing their minimum wage employees helping them? I have absolutely no idea. Not a clue at all. But this is a big trend. I mean, you're starting to see it a lot of places. There's these union efforts going on at Activision Blizzard, which is now being bought by Microsoft, which I'm sure they will put the kibosh on. Riot Games, there's big unionized efforts going on there. Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, these big game industries have all been essentially attacked by these unions, bitching about stuff like, there's a crunch time when we're getting ready to release a game, and that's not fair. And it's like, so deadlines aren't fair. It's just, it's very odd.
Did you see the story about how the Biden administration wants to expand unions? And I think the percentage now, unions now, last year, the number of unions continued to drop to 14 million or 10.3% of the labor force. They wanted to get it up to 50%. That's their goal. Yeah, that's what they'd like to do. They've got, and I'm like, what industries are you trying to?
I think if you're talking about what unions used to be, I probably wouldn't be opposed to that. But with the current state of what unions are, which are nothing more than essentially a mafia holding, capitalist private industries hostage, I think that would absolutely do nothing but destroy industry, personally.
There are some nice comments in the chat about.
Read them out.
John is saying unions tried to block the implementation of containerized cargo because I guess they didn't like it. Takes away from them. Alan is saying all unions ever done for me is collect dues, and I got a gift card.
And that's very representative of how, in some industries, unions just don't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. And I think what Alan just described is probably accurate depending on the industry that you work in. I mean, I think Spence just mentioned it. You couldn't go to a table and look at a blueprint without somebody that was a union member. What's the benefit? How is the business better? How is the employee getting treated better in industry like that? They're not, is the answer. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
I
see the benefits of it, but I just don't want it to be done for the wrong reason.
John is saying unions forced railroads to keep firemen on trains when there was no longer a fire.
You mean when they switched to diesel halfway from yep. Well,
now that case right there, though, is a precise example of a union actually protecting their workers. Even though there was no longer a need for a firefighter, the union kept and fought to keep those people employed. Now, you might disagree with that, but with the goal of the union, that was precisely what it was meant for, and it did its job. There's an example. While I think that's absolutely ridiculous, that is a precise example of a union doing what it's supposed to do for its workers. So it's bizarre.
John is saying the fireman's job was to shovel coal into the boiler. They did not fight fire. Well, anyway.
And Mike says it's. I think the union's kind of currently. I think he's describing the current union's kind of like insurance. You may never need it, but when you do, it's there. I think that's probably a pretty accurate representation. But again, what the hell's going on at an Apple retail store or Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts that you would need a union?
Yeah.
Okay. It's odd.
So here is another. Let's switch here. Volvo has unleashed a big improvement in customer satisfaction after equipping its 1,500 service engineers with an Apple Watch to use during the day. What, on the face of it, seems a small change reflects extensive cultural change across the company, which is actively engaged in digital transformation across its business. This is coming from Computer World. Interesting. So they need
Are
an
they
Apple
tracking
Watch.
their employees' vitals through it?
I don't know. But I tell you what, it does justify expensive cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to pay more. Yeah. And those of you with Samsung, those of you that use Samsung phones, Samsung shipped an estimated 100 million smartphones with botched encryption, including
Whoops.
models ranging from the 2017 Galaxy S8 on up to last year's Galaxy S21. And that's coming from researchers at Tel Aviv University. They found what they call severe cryptographic design flaws that could have let attackers siphon the device's hardware-based cryptographic keys that unlock the treasure trove of security critical data that's found in smartphones. What's more, cyber attackers could even exploit Samsung's cryptographic missteps, since addressed in multiple CVEs, to downgrade a device security protocol. So anyway, there's not a word about if it can be fixed. I guess it's hardware based.
Still, you fix the software that calls the hardware. Things get a bit slow, but you can fix it. You can at least block it.
Yes. So there's no word here about whether or not they are doing it, but it started in 2017 up to last year. It's interesting. Let's see. What else do we have? I mean,
It's another story exactly like the wiping, right? It's like you're screwed.
Although Microsoft Edge has recently faced a lot of ridicule because the Redmond tech giant keeps adding what many consider as bloat in its web browser, it seems that the company is hell-bent on this path. Now it appears that Skype Meet Now panel is being added to Microsoft Edge. The integration was spotted by a Redditor who spotted the change in the latest Edge Canary build essentially, and you now have a new toggle in the appearance setting that adds a Skype Meet Now button to the Edge Omnibar. Clicking on
the
it.
only thing I have to say for them is at least when they add it, they add a toggle.
Well,
yeah, it's terrible. I think the most annoying part of all of this is even if when you switch it off,
yeah,
if you create a new profile, by default, it's all switched on. So it doesn't take the current setting and duplicate them to a new profile. And that is so annoying. But yeah, another one.
Yeah. And then it's not going to be too long before the thing is going to become slow. I don't understand how Microsoft think, but it's Microsoft, and we can't tell them how to think.
They're thinking about the money. They want the money flowing.
They want the annuity money flowing.
I'm actually, I mean, since my last excursion into Linux world, I've been a lot more engulfed in the philosophy of free software. I remember being really enticed by it in the late 90s, and now I'm back reading, stuff that Stallman wrote and interviews. And I mean, I am in no way, I cannot live today without free software. Free software it's not just free for download. It's like where the license of the software enforces whoever gets their hands on either the software or the source code and makes changes, they must make those changes available. That's how free software works. And when you do that, the philosophy behind it is you allow the end user full control over what they can change. And GPL version 3, right, which is the current GPL license out there, is a very interesting concept, because it talks about embedded software as well as just any software that's run. If you buy a piece of hardware with embedded software based on GPL version 3 code, then the manufacturer is enforced to allow you access to the source code, right? By choosing that by choosing to use code of GPL version 3 nature. And not only that, it is prohibited from allowing the end user to change it. So let's say Google, they're using you can the GPL version 3 license basically does not allow the manufacturer, if let's say if Android was completely Linux based, right? It has a Linux loader, and then the OS itself is Java based. So if the bootloader, for example, was based on GPL version 3, then they would be required just by using it, right, to make sure that every other user can change their bootloader. And that's why those bootloaders are usually proprietary or using a different open source license, right? Because the license itself is this perpetual motion license, right? So, and this whole spiel about licensing and free software and stuff, it was all put in place, right? The mentality, the discussion all started in the 80s, late 70s, beginning of the 80s. And the results of it, right, are astonishing. And I think the quality of it is so refined, and it was groundbreaking because they already thought about a reality where we would buy hardware with embedded software in it that will do something against us, right? And that's what we're fighting most of most of our discussion about here is about this type of hardware. The Amazon Echoes, the Google Assistants, our smartphones, right? Our smartwatches. We are inviting these manufacturers and their closed proprietary code into our life, while there should be an alternative. And we're getting further away and away from that alternative unless we are committed to free software. And so free software is a very interesting like
Concept.
not the concept, but an activist concept, right? It's you are actively defying. If you want, Stallman, he's actively defying. He does not use anything that isn't free software, right? He's this. He's always painted as the fanatic, but he is very thoughtful about the process. And so, let's say we will never have Stallman on the show here because it requires running Zoom, which is proprietary software, right? And he doesn't run any proprietary software. And so, but he would be okay for us having the show using any of our software here if he would, sit next to us in a room and talk. He's not like, oh, you don't use free software. I don't want to talk to you, right? It's not like that. It's just he's not going to invite that. And it's interesting that free software is tied directly, right, today with privacy concerns. And one of the reasons Microsoft has Edge, right, is because Chromium is this huge open source project, but it's not free software. They get what the community is creating, what the community is, and the community is part enterprise, part enthusiast, right? But they take what the community, what is open out there, and they create their own. I mean, Brave does it as well. It's not like it's they're the only one, but they have tied it into the OS. They are adding features to it, but if you want to fight it, right, you do not have a way of completely like subverting it. You can either not use it, right, but it'll still be installed because right now it's going to be part of the OS and all that, and they still keep pushing stuff in, but it will never be free software, even though you can make modifications to it and you can compile your own. It will require a lot of work. There is nobody's allowed to create an alternative that is without all of these, right? So it's like we are in this very interesting world where Microsoft, right, is putting some screen in front of us and say, hey, we started to embrace open source, and they only embrace open source where it's in their benefit, and it's not free software, right? Because every piece of open source software from Microsoft has embedded telemetry, they're collecting data, things that they are not allowed to do completely with the OS, which they probably do to a very limited capacity because of understandings of the past, right? So I just find that it's a very interesting situation that free software is on the one hand still around, right? I mean, I'm so distraught that I cannot use it properly right now. But
That's all right.
I think there should be a lot more discussion about focusing on the need to remain within free software, because there are huge enterprises that exist to support free software, and they seem a lot more ethical in their business, right, compared to any other business that we're talking about. And that's why I think the focus needs to be there. Like every single time we talk about a piece of software, every single time that we decide whether to choose something or not, let's see if it's free software and look at free software alternative if you must use it, and understand that just by using free software, you're basically an activist to your rights, right, around around every piece of technology that we're using today, right? That was me on the soapbox. Happens from time to time.
That was I see a lot of bubbles. And here's Eleanor is asking you, can you suggest some articles to read about free software for those of us not
Yeah.
as
I
technical?
mean, start at the basics. GNU.org, GNU.org. They are the Free Software Foundation. And I think it's Stallman.org, which is Richard Stallman's, Stallman.org, Richard Stallman personal site. There, because he's the master activist over there, right? Then he's also focusing on specific aspects and specific companies and the way they act and work. So it's really interesting. And of course, and search for some interviews with Richard Stallman on YouTube. There's not a lot because he does not personally go there, right? If you look at his website also, it's really, really basic.
Let them look
The
at
only
it.
JavaScript that he will use is free software, right? He will not. So he literally lives in a world where he does not use browsers that run that are not free software, and he does not use. He switches off JavaScript and only enables them on sites where the JavaScript are completely free software, right? Which is not a lot. It's not. But he is the type of person that actually thinks about this actively. And he has very, very interesting points. He's not like this madman just raving at the world. He has a very, very valid point, and it's a very interesting point of view.
All right, Gal.
Yeah.
It's this time of day. Anybody wants to add anything?
Or just to say, I'll be back.
Oh, we know that.
Maybe sooner than
You
think,
better-
meaning
you better
if
be
I can
back.
make some arrangement. This is a different gig for me, so it's not the
You better be back.
passenger thing. I may have time. No, I am going to be back.
Yeah, that's it.
Definitely.
I'll
Why
have
not?
specials starting for you next week. Spence, send me your PDF so I can use your template.
Well, I'll send you the PowerPoint.
Yes, please.
Yep, I'll do that.
All right.
We'll keep the tradition rolling
All right.
as long as I most weeks. Let's just say most weeks we will
Got to
continue.
be up.
Yeah, that's
I'm
better.
up at 7. And I'm at my computer at 7:00.
Now, my alarm goes off at 8:55 on Sunday
Oh.
morning, so
Okay.
I'll have to make it Saturday.
And then one snooze, so that's 3 more minutes.
Yeah, so that's why I'm normally here around 9, 10.
Back when we were on the
right.
radio, the specials consisted of me bringing in the Sunday ads with a Sharpie. I wrote
Yep.
circled
Yep.
stuff. That's how we did the Sunday ads.
All right. So thanks, Gal. Spence, have a safe trip
Thank you.
and enjoy yourself and stay safe. And thanks, Nick. And
you.
good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie and Dana, Dina, Arlington, Micha, Eleanor, Sarid. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your scanner, virus scanner. And y'all got up. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. And remember, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., Nick is doing his daily news show on Wilmington's 980 The Wave and 107.9 FM. And you can go into your Echo device and just say, play 980 The Wave to listen to it live. Or you can listen to the recordings at nickcraig.com. And also Tuesday, 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do the podcast. One word, Infection Podcast on Twitch. So at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays, you go to twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. And that's a show for survival games and gaming and news about gaming, things like that. And we'll see you next week, right here.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.